So, Dan, one of the reasons I got into radio, because as a kid, I just loved music. And I thought, what a great job, work in radio and play your favourite songs. And I'm just so pleased that the Talking Heads movie's coming out. Because the other day, because I love music, but I also love the Muppets, I shared on my social media Kermit the Frog singing Once in a Lifetime from Talking Heads, where he absolutely recreates the video, and it's just perfect.
Amazing. I love that halfway through that sentence, I was thinking to myself, where is this going?
It's just great.
Where is this going?
I'm a big Talking Heads fan, so when I saw those two combined, I went, brilliant.
Yeah, over the school holidays, actually, I was talking with my wife Anna and a good friend of ours, and it was just a sort of, I was having a quiet beer and we were just relaxing in the evening, and I was thinking, I sometimes sit there and socially and I think of just, let's have a conversation about something. I just throw something out rather than the usual stuff, and I just sort of threw out to everyone. There was a few of us. What are your three favourite bands? You don't need to tell me now, but just have a think. So when it got to me talking about my top three, it was hard to round it out, but easily Talking Heads is one of my favourite bands. Mm-hmm. So many great records. They are one of those bands that has incredible singles, but their deep cuts are more my favourite songs, but I love the hits. They've got such an unusual back catalogue.
Yes.
David Byrne's commentary on society through his lyrics is insane.
He's just a genius, isn't he?
He really is a genius. The whole story and how they broke up is fascinating. And the fact that they've actually come back together and they've done a Q&A speaking tour for the re-release of Stop Making Sense. A24 is releasing it, and they have done amazing things with films since they've sort of hit the scene in the last 2 or 3 years. They have amazing brand recognition in the younger sort of, let's say, under 30 demographic. So I'm really fascinated to think about how a film that's 40 years old, getting a 4K re-release with a remastered soundtrack is going to appeal to a broad audience. And I was listening to a podcast the other day where they talk about going to some of the screenings in the States. It's the Big Picture podcast. They industry insiders, and one of the screenings they went to was hosted by Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth, where she Q&A'd with the band, and there was, in their words, a lot of A-listers in the house. And they said that the audience was generally 40 plus, but in the US, the demographic that has shown the most interest in it from data is 60% under 30. And is that because A24 is incredible at their marketing to a younger audience, or is it that the younger audience is going, what is it about this movie? Everyone keeps talking about this is the greatest concert film of all time. And it certainly is an incredible concert film. I couldn't unequivocally say that because I haven't seen every great concert film. But I tell you what, I'm really excited because what I hear is that this film that I've seen never on the big screen, but have seen on the small screen, has been remastered, and apparently Jerry Harrison, who's the guitarist, keyboardist from the band, has actually worked on the remaster.
Oh, really? Brilliant.
Has completely changed the way that the sound is coming at you from the speakers, where you can just hear more nuance and you can hear certain instruments, and they've reworked the way that the surround sound comes through. For example, in the song Heaven, you've got the backing vocals coming from the back speakers, and then you've got the band, the music coming from the front and from the sides. So they've changed the way that the dynamic of the sound's coming through, and for a lot of people that I've heard talking about it have said that it has completely elevated the experience from an already sort of incredible film. Really excited to be showing it here at Matakana.
Yeah, I think their production on their albums is already miles ahead of anybody at the time anyway. And, like I said, David Byrne's a genius. And I think part of the thing is, yes, it's probably the marketing, but it's also when you think about some of the films that have come out, say Guardians of the Galaxy, right? And you have those soundtracks with those lot of older songs on there, and younger people are discovering it. Like, for instance, my daughter all of a sudden is listening to Johnny Cash or listening to Neil Young, and, she's 19. So I think they're getting exposed to that music and it's becoming very popular again. It really is, and it's on games and it's on all sorts of things. So
Yeah.
that's why the interest is there, I think.
I've heard from many friends over the last couple of years that have older kids than mine. When they have a party, they're like, oh no, what music do I have to put up with?
Yeah.
And then they go, man, the music was all the stuff I was into.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
a really interesting, I think streaming has a lot to do with this.
Yes.
For better or for worse, streaming music has, there's positives and negatives to streaming, but I think one of them is that it's allowing people to discover music from way back, and also probably people who may not listen to newer musics getting, it makes it easier to access newer music and to not have to worry about spending money on something they might not necessarily like.
Yeah.
But yeah, the younger kids getting into music that their parents were into or still are into is a really great offshoot of the streaming era, I think. The other interesting point is that Jonathan Demme is the director of this film. And if you haven't seen it, when you see it, because you are going to see it,
Yeah.
you will see why this guy is regarded as one of the great Hollywood directors. He's passed away now, unfortunately. I think it was last year. He also directed the Oscar-winning film Silence of the Lambs, which is a really interesting parallel. But the structure of the film, which I won't go into here, is what makes, not the only thing that makes this film so great, but it really adds to the effect you're getting from it. And as a little bit of a clue, at the time, 1983 is when this was recorded, David Byrne was dating a woman from Japan, and so he was spending a lot of time in Tokyo in particular, and he was very interested in Japanese performance theatre, particularly Noh theatre, and you can really see the way that his sort of vision for this film then gets crafted by Jonathan Demme using touch points from Japanese theatre.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be great. So next time, Dan and I will be wearing big white suits with massive shoulders on it, so we could look like David Byrne.
Maybe. Oh, and also, one other very special thing about the release here at Matakana Cinemas is the album has been re-released. The vinyl has actually been extremely hard to come by, and it's basically, the reissue has been sold out in New Zealand, and I managed to get pretty much, from what I can understand, the last 2 copies in the country. One for me.
Yeah.
And
one for me.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. No.
Yeah, there wasn't
Okay, one for
three.
you.
There wasn't 3 copies. Sorry, I can share mine with you.
Yeah,
or
well,
you could
yeah.
come to the screening and
That's
you
right.
could be in to win it.
Yeah.
So we're going to give away through the season. If you come and see the movie here at Matakana Cinemas, you drop your ticket in a box and you go in the draw to win a copy of the reissued vinyl. And it is actually hitting like $300 on reseller.
Wow.
Markets at the moment, because it's pretty much impossible to come by. So that is definitely a good reason to come and see the film here.